for being here. My name is Nikki. I'm with Lynn Coalition and SEIU Local 509. I will be hosting tonight's forum. Before we get started, I would like to go over a few items. As you can see, there was a piece of paper on your seat. This piece of paper is for the audience to write a question down for a candidate of your choice. Someone will come around and collect them later in the evening from you. Please be sure to write your phone number and your email address on them. If we have time during this forum, we will choose 1 or 2 questions to present to the candidates. For all other questions, the candidates can follow up with you at a later time. The restrooms are located in the back to the left. Each question will appear on the projector when presented. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to each question. Laura in the front. Here we'll hold up signs when you have 30 seconds left and when it's time to stop. We ask that time be respected for all parties. Also, we ask that you hold all clapping out of respect for time. Thank you. I would now like to introduce Tish Makula, President of Lynn Coalition.
On the behalf of the Lynn Coalition, I wanted to thank the candidate first and thank all of you for being here to hear from this dynamic candidate and have them answer your question. My name is Tish Mukala. I am the president of the Highland Coalition, the Lynn Coalition, I'm sorry. And so Lynn Coalition, what's Lynn Coalition? Lynn Coalition, as you can see, is made up with community, faith, and labor organizations. Our mission is to organize all sectors of working class people in our region into unified, permanent, political, and economic force that is union and non-union and transcend racial, linguistic, ethnic, citizenship, faith, and gender boundary. We work to build ties with other allies as well. So Lynn Coalition is composed with our member organization are 1199 SEIU, Diverse People United, Essex Community County Organization, ECO, Highlands Coalition, IUECWA Local 201, Latina Center Maria, Lynn Health Task Force, Lynn Latino Leadership Coalition, Lynn United for Change, Lynn Worker Center, Massachusetts Senior Action, yay! Never to Never, North Shore Juneteenth Association, North Shore Labor Council, Prevent the Cycle, SEIU Local 509, Community Together, and United Nations CDC. So all of us together form the Lynn Coalition. Our program, as you can see, we have Lynn Community Enrichment, which is a night school that teach people skill based on class to create new job. E-Team Machinist, which is a E-Team Machinist training program that offer free in-depth job training for aspiring machinists focus on the unemployed and underemployed, and food aid projects. That's the grocery delivery program that is supporting 750 families. So our food aid program. We also organize May Day, which I always call it our Worker Independence Day, because we got to express ourselves, voice our demand, and May Day is really our Independence Day. So as you can see, New Lynn Coalition is all of us. In one Lynn, we form New Lynn Coalition. So I would like to just take a moment to thank you all, and I don't want to take up too much time. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you again.
Thank you, Tish. Okay, let's get this forum going. I would like to state New Lynn Coalition is not endorsing any of these candidates. We are here to give an opportunity for all candidates to inform the community members of their views for our state. I would like to introduce the candidates here tonight. To my left, we have Hong Nat, and we have Sean Reid. I will be asking our opening question from New Lynn Coalition. You are both seeking a seat in the state legislature. As community activists, we have watched the legislators' performance with dismay. Budgets are routinely late, bills don't get hearings, and there is a crazy last-minute scramble to add items to the unrelated budget amendments because that is the only way to get movement, which creates lack of transparency and fail to engage constituents and grassroots groups. 149 out of 200 legislators receive a leadership stipend, a salary increase doled out by the Speaker and the Senate President, giving the leadership control over salaries of elected officials, with a coercive effect on the reps and senators. Please tell us whether or not you will support each of the following reforms if you are elected. You can answer yes or no after each question. I'll call upon you in order. So the first one is require committee votes to be published on the legislator's website. Hong?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
Great. And on that note, do you agree that you will make your committee votes public? Sean?
Yes.
Hong?
Yes, absolutely.
Require that bill hearings be scheduled at least a week in advance and that all written testimony is made available to the public. Hong?
Absolutely, yes.
And Sean?
Yes.
Support legislation to make the public records law apply to the legislator and the governor's office. Sean?
Yes.
Hong?
Yes.
Support legislation to apply the open meeting law to the legislator.
Absolutely, yes.
Sean?
Yes.
And lastly, support legislation to apply collective bargaining laws to legislative employees.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, candidates. Due to time restrictions and their group having a meeting that will be starting soon, North Shore Labor Council will be presenting the first group question. North Shore Labor Council, will you head on up? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Derek White. I'm a member of IUE CWA Local 201, as well as a member of the North Shore Labor Council.
I'm Nefti Alvarez. I'm a member of Local 201, proud member of North Shore Labor Council also.
All right, this is both you guys. Current law makes striking workers ineligible for unemployment benefits. If elected, will you champion Senate Bill 1172, House Bill 1831, an act relative to unemployment compensation and labor disputes, which will allow striking workers to qualify for unemployment benefits after 2 weeks? Either one can go first.
Sean?
I'm happy to go first. Thank you. First of all, thank you all to the New Lynn Coalition for being here today and for all the work that you do on a day-to-day basis, all the different groups. I am familiar with this legislation from working in the State House. I have been absolutely fully supportive and will co-sponsor this legislation. If you look at the trend over time, ironically, we've made strikes and forming unions more difficult when we should be going the other way and making them easier, especially considering that a lot of these corporations have much more power, they have better tactics and more resources when people are trying to organize, which is in their right and is part of the American backbone of the American economy. So I am super familiar with this. I'm more than happy to support this provision and give workers more flexibility to strike without repercussions or financial disincentives. So thanks so much.
Yes, I also support because I have been involved in with the union a lot and with the rally and supporting the workers, right? And yes, workers deserve to have a better timeline for collecting unemployment, and politicians' job is to make sure that make it easy for workers, for everyone who depend on this daily life. So this is it's very important that I will stand on the floor and support and also co-sponsor any this kind of bill. And I have no problem with standing up to fight for our workers, right? Because I strongly believe that I'm a union worker and a member of the union for many, many years. And I will do everything I can as an elected official to stand behind them and be beside them and fight with them. And so I'm not afraid to stand up against the big companies because they have so much resources, so they can hire the best lawyers possible they can. So we have to get together and to fight against this art. I strongly believe in supporting this as well.
As a proud member and graduate of the E-Team program, our current state representative, Reid Capano, has been a tireless champion for keeping the E-Team funded for many, many years. As an elected official, will you guys continue to champion to keep the E-Team funded as it has been for the past 28 classes?
Oh yes, I have attended graduation a couple of weeks ago. It's amazing, and the program must continue on. Not just that, must expand, because I talked to Tony, I talked to many graduates, and they're so passionate about it. It's very important that for people who need something for quick, so they cannot go to college, so we need to have this program going and expand more. As a state representative, I will continue the works of Representative Reid Capano, and also will expand that. I will do everything I can. I will work with you guys, and I will work with anyone who involved in this project. Machine work is important, and I know that I know a lot of people who want to do this, and so I'm wholeheartedly support, and I will work tirelessly as Pete does, and continue on, and I will try to get more funding for it.
I also am in full support of the E-Team. I'm very familiar with it. I had spoken to representatives from the E-Team team, and I already committed that I will file that earmark every year and support it however I can, as I have as a legislative director. I think we need to take this even a step further, though. So how this funding works is every year, Pete and Senator Creighton have to file, and Rep. Cahill have to file basically an earmark on the budget to try to get this funding. We should look for a way to make this funding more permanent that isn't on the basis of any given legislative budget or year. I think this should be coming funded by an executive office such as economic development or another one, so that we have that program year after year, and we don't have to worry about different political and legislative variables that exist throughout the year. So I think we should all talk about that and look into that further and how we can make this an absolutely permanent program, because anytime that a program is, you have to rely on funding any year, things can get tricky, and we can't afford to lose this program, especially given the state of our economy and the need for these type of jobs. So thanks so much.
Okay, thank you, candidates. We appreciate that. And you guys did great. We're going to alternate, but whoever goes last goes first the next time. Awesome. Okay, and the next group that's going to be presenting their question is Mass Senior Action Council.
I am Maddie Valerie. I'm a proud board member of the Mass Senior Action Council. I am here as a representative of the Lynn senior community. We ask seniors what they would like their state representative to work on. A major concern for us is long-term care options. We are seniors and we do not want to go to nursing homes. We want more people trained to be home care providers, and we want the workers to be state employees with benefits and a career ladder so that the care we receive will be quality care. There are many challenges for the entire city. All of us need better public transportation options, affordable housing, but most of all, we need a state house that works. Right now, the state is not very democratic and does not work as well as it should. As a state representative, what can you do to get bills passed and budget items included that will address the community needs?
I'm a long life member of a Senior Action Council. I'm proud of that, and we know what our senior needs. And I have a father-in-law who almost 9 years old, live with me, and we take care of him. And of course, he doesn't want to go to a nursing home. And so this program must be fully funded, because there's so many people out there feel comfortable to stay home with the care of the professional, go to the home or from the family members. And I strongly believe in that, and I strongly will support that bill, and I will do everything I can. I know it's not going to be easy because we have other parties involved as well, but as long as we have the full support from our Senior Action Center, Council behind us, we will bring this issue to the floor, and we make sure that we work with them before we even consider talk to any politicians in the State House. So I will fight for you, because I'm going to be a senior soon myself as well. So, and I don't want to go to a nursing home either. And so, yeah. So I can't say anymore. So I'm not in the State House yet, but I promise you I will do everything I can, because I have experience taking care of my father-in-law, and I know how it feels to feel isolated without family members in a nursing home, and many people can't be happy and can't live long enough. So they deserve the best in the end of their lives. So that's how I feel. So I do everything I can to support that.
Thank you.
Thank you for this question. Also a lifetime member of Mass Senior Action Council, and a
Yes,
big
you
fan. Before I get into the question about the State House stuff, I do want to say that there was a long-term bill that should have passed at this end of session, but unfortunately, because of, ironically, the question you're asking, it failed because of the state of the State House, quite frankly. And it's very frustrating, and it's going to unfortunately impact a lot of seniors who are looking for long-term care. Having said that, I work in the State House right now. I really understand the environment, and I think a lot of people think, oh, he's a staffer, he understands how to get things done, and he understands, how to quote-unquote play the game. But more or less, we also understand what's broken. We're some of the most frustrated people in that building. We spend hours and hours on legislation, and it doesn't get done. It is extremely frustrating because of, a few people, the powers that be, the centralized power, that make these decisions and, have fights. So what I think we have to do and able to get a lot of these budgets changed are some of the policies that were mentioned in the first slide, the first question, when it comes to reforming the government itself, the structure of the House itself. I think, especially committee votes put a lot of pressure on legislatures. They can't hide behind a committee vote. And also something that wasn't on there I want to mention is a more democratic process on how committee chairs are elected. Right now, it's sort of at the will of the speaker, and he or she can choose whoever they want, fire them whenever they want at any point in time, and there needs to be a more democratic process in which members can elect them. But to answer the question fully, I think we need to work in more coalition building. That's the way I've seen hard things get done, both externally with partners like many people in this room, and also internally forming small caucuses of legislators across the state that represent a variety of districts, because this issue doesn't just affect rich or poor or urban or city or suburban. It impacts everyone, and I really think we need to build a coalition and not give up and get things done.
Okay, the next group that's going to present a question is Neighbor to Neighbor.
Hello, my name is Danya de la Cruz. I am a senior at Lynn English High School, and I'm also been a member of Neighbor to Neighbor for over a year now. Thank you. As youth, we know firsthand that there are many issues impacting our schools and the resources available to us that students in wealthier cities and towns do not have to deal with. Currently, our youth team at Neighbor to Neighbor is campaigning around developing expanding funding for extracurriculars in the public high school system, both clubs and sports. As state representative, what would you do to support us in this effort, and what would be your approach to bringing more funding to Lynn schools overall to improve our experience as students?
Thank you so much for the question. I'm on the school committee now, and I'm chair of the athletics committee. So I actually have been in a situation where we've been trying to start things, and we can't necessarily do it without cutting another program, and that's problematic because then that chooses favorites and what programs matter, what programs don't, et cetera, et cetera. So there needs to be more state Chapter 70 funding for these type of specific programs. How it currently works is we sort of get this this bulk of money, and we get to decide how we divvy it up. But I think there really needs to be particular allocations to where some of this money goes, because it's easy for a city like Lynn that has so many needs to try to look away, or, it's just there's so much going on that it's difficult. So I really think that having that allocation there is very important, and also having other grants available for specific activities that are super popular right now. Like we see different sports on the rise. We just started a golf team here in Lynn and a hockey team. And those aren't cheap sports, and that's probably why they haven't been popular for many, many years, right? And so there needs to be specific programs that target communities like Lynn so that we're able to expand sports and any other type of clubs that are on the rise. We know things like video games and all types of technology on the rise. There needs to be specific grants and funding streams for these particular things, because I think it's often overlooked when we think about all the different budgetary things we have to balance when it comes to salaries of teachers, when it comes to facilities and everything else. And just to answer the second part of the question, what would we do to bring more funding to Lynn School overall? I think the number one thing we have to do, number one issue is our facilities. That leads to overcrowding. That leads to that leads to poor teacher retention. That leads to everything else in between. But we need to reform the MSBA formula, how we fund our school buildings, because we'll never be able to catch up building a school every 5 to 10 years. So that is the biggest change that we all have to advocate for when it comes to educational funding at the State House, because it's a state program.
That's a great question. As a city councilor at large for 14 years, I have also as a chairman of the Ways and Means for over 8 years. That's my expertise. Appropriating funding for what is the most appropriate to spend on. So education and for the youth is very, very important for us, because we understand that youth is the backbone of our society, and we must do everything we can to make sure our young people have the access to education, to sport, to whatever they think that can help them for a better future. So I appropriate funding to different organizations, including youth. I've been doing that for over 8 years with my colleagues, and it's not a very easy decision, but I was able to help. So I helped to create the Kaya group, and also with the schools, and we just want to make sure that we have the resources. I know our job as a councilor is not to get money to the city, but the state representative and state senator get the money to us, and we make sure we spend wisely. That's what we have been doing. And if I get elected, I will do the same thing to make sure that our youth and our school and our young people have the resources, because I understand how important our young people need in our city, because I've been doing that every day, and I meet with them, I talk with them, I see what is going on. So trust me on that. I will do everything I can to make sure I will fight for you at the State House and to get funding to make sure our children get whatever they deserve, because they are the backbone of our society. And I want to thank you for the question. This is one word question, so thank you so much.
Thank you. That was a great question. The next group that will be presenting is Lynn United for Change.
So my name is Sally de la Cruz, and I am a community organizer at Lynn United for Change. I'm going to ask 2 questions about housing. So all over the Lynn, we are seeing drastic rent increases that push people out of their homes. This hurts the stability of families, classrooms, and whole neighborhoods. Rent stabilization is the only policy that can work quickly and broadly to bring relief to working class and low-income tenants. Both of you have already said that you support rent stabilization, right? So our questions are about some of the key details. First, rent stabilization will not be affected if there are loopholes in the policy. For example, current state law allows no-cost evictions. That means the landlord can evict tenants for no reason at all, even if they are up to date on their rent and have not violated any rules. Another possible loophole is open up if limits of rent increases do not apply when a new tenant moves into an apartment. So the main rent control proposal in the State House bans no-cost evictions. It also includes vacancy control to ensure the landlords do not evict people just so they can bring a new tenant at much higher cost. So, will you advocate for vacancy control and for a ban on no-cost eviction as part of the rent stabilization policy?
Yes.
Okay,
You want me to explain?
go ahead.
Okay. I want to thank Lynn United for Change for working so hard to protect tenants, and I'm honored to have been working with them for many years and support them in any way I can as a city councilor at large. So we really don't have a lot of control, but what we can do to work with your organization and as a state rep, so we're gonna find funding to make sure it's more funding to build more homes and the vacant lots. There's so many vacant lots out there, and but the space is very limited. But yes, I wholly support all of what you have right here, because housing crisis is a nation. It's in, all over the United States right now, and we see people being pushed away and people being evicted without notice. And when we go to court, it's very difficult to win over them. But we also have special program in our city to help our tenant as well. And I believe that we can do more from the state level to put the rent control in place. Because time to revisit that, so that way make sure that people have the ability to stay in their home without pushing away. Because it's so right now, it's everywhere you go, it's housing, it's skyrocketing. So we cannot afford to let our residents move out because they want to be here, they want to stay here. By leaving out from the community, so that isolate their children from their peers, which is I strongly believe that we must revisit this rent control, and make sure that both parties benefit from this, and especially we cannot allow our residents being evicted. So, and it's a good question. Thank you.
Thanks to you.
Thank you, Sally. Thank you, Isaac. Appreciate the work as always. This issue is really personal to me as someone who grew up facing homelessness in the city of Lynn. Everything when it comes to rent control is something that I think deeply about, and something that I'm fully supportive of. For this in particular, I'm glad you brought this question up, because I think when we think about the housing affordability crisis, we think about the people who are either looking for a home or looking for a rent, and they can't find it. We think of people who have to move out of the city or move somewhere else because they can't afford it. But we often overlook the people who are currently in housing. Those are the people who either, whether they actually get to a no-cause eviction or not, these are the people that have to live in fear every single day. I've been there before, and it's scary to think, just one wrong move and you could be evicted just because the will of the landlord. And that also goes on to conditions too, right? The reason why I think we see so many poor conditions, amongst other things like lack of enforcement, is because people are in such desperate situations, they can't speak up, or even when they do speak up, no one's listening because they have nowhere else to go. So I think it's so important to highlight these other aspects of potential displacement or for people who are living in a house but are currently housing insecure. So yeah, fully supportive and happy to, I don't know if there's a standalone bill on this right now, but I'm happy to talk with you both and whoever else and see if we can file one if it doesn't exist now. So thanks so much.
Thank to both of you, but that question has a second part. So the next part of our question is about rent stabilization. It's about what would you do to get this policy in place? We know that the real estate industry is already fighting against rent stabilization because it will cut into their profits. So, and if we are able to finally get rid of the statewide ban in rent control stabilization, they will fight against it at the city level. So the next question is, will you fight to end the statewide ban in local rent stabilization and also fight to implement rent stabilization here in Lynn? If so, how?
Yes to both parts of the question. Talking about the statewide ban, I think there may come a time where we have to maybe even go above the legislature's head, because I know this is obviously an urgent issue, and we don't have time to wait. If there's a way to get it on the ballot, if there's different initiatives, of course it will be fully funded by the other side, which is going to be difficult. But I think that I was reading an article today that said, I think it said 50% of Massachusetts residents would consider moving out because of either housing or transportation. To me, I think there's a huge shift in the mindset and working at the State House in the mindset around rent control, and I think that's super important. So, it's going to be a tough fight, and of course, I'm happy to build coalitions internally and externally, as I mentioned in the last question. But I think that the bigger point here is we have to leave no stone unturned. At the local level, of course, I'm happy to advocate if we ever get to this point, and I do trust in the faith of the councilors and the mayor of the city of Lynn that they will support this policy, as many of them said they would. So happy to advocate in Lynn and beyond. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
Yes, once again, I'm looking forward to continue working with United for Change and all the parties involved in this, because we cannot, one state rep cannot just go out there and lobby for all of us. We need all of us to get together and work on this. The more voice we have, and the more power we get. I strongly believe that. And it's time for revisit, to be honest. For 30 years now, it has been going on. And it's 40% of our residents put 1/3 of their salary to housing, and they don't have any much left. So it's time for control to visit rent control. And yes, I will continue to do my part as an elected official, work with our residents, work with everyone who get involved. So if I get elected to the State House, I will do the same thing. Before I do anything, I will come back to you. I will get your support. I will get your input. That's what I strongly believe. The more input we get, the more voices we get. We march to the State House together and lobby for whatever we think that's the right for all of us. And at the city level, I will do the same thing. I will continue to work with the mayor, with all the residents, to make sure that this is matter. So we need to make sure that we take care of our residents first. They are the backbones of our economy in this city, and they have contributed so much to our society. We cannot afford to lose them. If they go to a different place, they're going to start all over again. That's not even fair to them. So we need them to be here. So we need to help them any way we can. Thank you.
You're going to have to pick up the mic again, because another question for you guys. So thank you. So the next question is about emergency family shelter. So for over 40 years, Massachusetts has guaranteed a basic right to shelter to families with young children who become homeless. This system has never been perfect, but it has minimized the number of families with children forced to live on the streets. Over the past few years, the shelter system has had to expand. This is because Massachusetts has been hit with a huge housing affordability crisis. And at the same time, humanitarian crises are driving increased immigration to the state. A long time, Massachusetts residents and recent immigrants are struggling to find a place to live. So part of Governor Healy's response was to limit the number of families allowing shelter for the first time in the program's history. The governor then imposed more and more restrictive policies. Finally, the state suddenly created a new rule that forced homeless into a horrific choice. They can either remain on the streets with their children for months while on a waiting list, or they can stay in one of the state's overflow shelters for 5 days. After those 5 days, they will be thrown out on the streets, and they are banned for more stable shelter space for the following 6 months. So the first part of our question is, will you sign a letter to Governor Healy, Speaker Mariano, and Senate President Spilka, calling for reversal of the new 5-day limit for homeless families and emergency overflow shelters?
Oh, yes, definitely. I will go to the governor. I will go to Speaker of the House, Senate President, and anyone who are involved in this, because it's touched me so much when I hear about homeless. Because I was once, not in this country. I was once. I never had any home before I came to the United States, and also I've seen so many people go through the same thing. It touched my heart, and it is very important that everyone deserves to have a roof on their heads. And I strongly believe that we must not limit any homeless to anyone at all. I strongly believe that we must not see anyone stay on the street. And yes, I'm proud to say that our city we don't have any more veteran homeless. That's great. That's wonderful, because for the great work that we have done, and it's great we have a shelter. But it's not enough. It's really, we need more shelter, and to see children don't have a home to stay, and stay in the car, and how they go to school, how can they focus to be a healthy child? There's no way they can do that, because I've been there. But so luckily, you opened your arm to bring me here. That's why I was able to get my brain back to stay healthy. So without a stable home, don't tell me there's no way you can focus on anything. So yes, I will talk to the governor. I will talk with the Speaker of the House, and I will talk with President of the Senate, and make sure that they expand more shelter for us. It doesn't have to be in Lynn, anywhere in the whole state. That's what I want to see.
Thank you, Mr. Ron.
Yes, I am fully supportive. I mean, I'm happy to do so. I don't know if any of you saw it, but some of the coverage in the Globe and some of the other Boston publications around this issue were truly heartbreaking. If you have a heart, there were families literally sitting in subway stations saying, "We have no idea where we're going, or where we're going to sleep tonight," and that's, it's truly heartbreaking. And I'm of the mindset that housing is a right. And I also think that this 5-day warning, having followed it, came very suddenly. And I think kind of the whole point of these shelters, and anyone correct me if I'm wrong, is to stabilize people. A lot of these folks, especially the new arrivals, are trying to get jobs, and they finally are able to get to that point where they can get some paperwork and they can move forward. And then you just literally take everything away. So how do you expect these people to get forward? It's a very frustrating situation. I know it's a complex issue. And of course, we do have limited space, but I do think that we have to think more broadly about this question too, and why are we in this situation in the first place, in terms of even just beyond the housing crisis, but why don't we have more shelter space? And I know that the state government has tried to be creative, but it's unacceptable. 5 days is really no way. No one can get stabilized in 5 days, especially when you consider the different circumstances that these people are facing, trying to take care of their family, trying to just survive. So happy to sign a letter and maybe even take steps further than that if it gets to that point. So
That brings us to the last part of our question. So will you publicly advocate to keep our family shelter system intact and to reverse the new cap on the number of families allowed into shelter? If so, what would your message be?
absolutely. I think just going back to a lot of my first answer, I think that we need to let people know that housing is a human right, and that, these are great, hardworking people who have unfortunate circumstances that we need to protect them. That's what we do here in Massachusetts. As someone who's lived in a family shelter before, I understand the real struggles that these people are going through, and they're not looking for a handout, they're looking for a hand up and to get a leg up and try to move forward, as I mentioned in my last answer. So yes, I'm happy to sign the letter, publicly advocate, and any other, again, if it gets to another point, maybe we consider other legislative vehicles or ways to tackle this issue.
Yeah, I'm very happy to support and sign this bill as well. So I represent a lot of people from different countries, and they struggle with languages, with housing, with economy, everything. So I understand what they go through. And like I said earlier, so I've been through myself, so I know. So, and he's right. So their housing is a human right. So that's why I wrote a human rights commission for the city of Lynn, because make sure everyone treated fairly, including housing, jobs, everything. So put it this way, I don't have to go through the whole thing. So when I say human rights commission, I mean like we all must treat equally, fairly in many, many ways. So yeah, I'm very happy and I'm honored to sponsor this bill. I do everything I can and to make sure I have a strong voice in our district, in the State House, as I have been doing for the Lynn City Hall, to make sure that we are all part of this, and we deserve to have a fairly treat, as we are all created equally for this space. So I will do everything I can to support this, and I will stand behind you, and you stand beside me, and we push all this, make sure this pass. Thank you very much.
Thank you to both of you.
Thank you for those very important questions. The next group that will be presenting a question is Echo.
Good evening, everyone. Candidates. My name is Brenda Womack. I am a minister at Zion Baptist Church. I'm also co-chair for ECHO here on the North Shore. I am a mother, a homeowner, and a resident, and a former retired employee of the City of Lynn. And we do have a question, and it's a heavy one. And I'm going to read it slow so everyone can hear. And we know that the housing crisis in Massachusetts is urgent. People need housing, and while there is a narrative that appears in the world of housing calling for us to build our own way out of crisis, we know that this is an oversimplification of the issue. It's much more than that. Data from the National Low Income Housing Coalition, NHLIHC, highlights that the greatest need for housing is among low income and extremely low income households. This represents 58% of Lynn's population. That's pretty high. However, in many communities like Lynn, there is real frustration over the construction of high-end apartments that are too expensive for most working-class residents. We all know that. We cannot allow the effect of gentrification to remain obscured by statistics. Displacement uproots families, rip children from their schools. Most cripplingly, it unravels the network of support working class communities have always formed to ensure our own flourishing survival. Thus, we understand that there is a need to be a stronger focus on just building more affordable housing, but as much, if not more so, on preventing displacement of communities, preserving existing affordable housing, public and private, and improving conditions across the board. Given this context, do you support expanding non-market affordable housing solutions such as social housing, public housing, and co-ops? If so, how do you plan to advocate for these solutions in the state legislature? Will you commit to pushing for specific initiatives for a small property acquisition fund and policies such as tenant opportunities to purchase at TOPA to preserve affordable housing? Told you it was heavy.
Yes, that's a wonderful question, and we all should should be a part of this question. And once again, let's go to your organization, the United for Change, the New Lynn Coalition. We all have to work together in this. Yes, I support expansion of the non-market affordable housing. As a city councilor, I have helped to pass the law for affordable housing, although it's only 10%, but it's not enough. But at least it's a start, I put this way. And as a state rep, we will have to continue to work with elected officials, city councilors, school committee, mayor, anyone who get involved in this. We get the support from them. We have to find the space. So we don't have enough space. We do have spaces, but need to be cleaned up, like brownfields. We need to clean up to build affordable housing for our residents. By doing that, the state representative must work with you, must find a way to get funding to work with landowners with an affordable way of buying land and build housing for our residents. That's what I see. That's the solution we can do. Because I work with the resident every day, and I know how struggled we are. Housing is a national crisis, not just Lynn. And once again, as a state rep, I will work with you to make sure that we get all the voices that to the state house, so the state house can put some money and work with homeowners, landowners to make sure we have to buy the lands and build homes for affordable housing for our residents. We want them to stay. They come here and say, they love to be here. We need them to be here. So I do everything I can to help.
I was trying to gather my thoughts. There's so much I could say here, and I just want to start by saying I think you bring up a good point that is something that's often underspoken about when we talk about housing insecurity. Once again, it's so hard to build community without housing stability. When people don't feel like they're part of something, they're not going to be somewhere in 2-3 years, it's so hard to build that community. I just want to thank you for highlighting that point. But to your questions, look, the bad news is we're in a housing crisis. The good news is some of the best solutions come from crises, and that's how I view this opportunity where we're at as Massachusetts. Desperate times call for desperate measures, and everything's on the table. We're 200,000 units short across the state if we ever want to get to a place where we have stable rents and mortgages. I think something we're all realizing is that private development will never get us there. I know we fought hard for inclusionary zoning, including the New Lynn Coalition, but that's not even going to put a dent in the grand scheme of things. And then we talk about public housing. I think we need more public housing. Of course, I think there's been a standoff for many years, and the state has been reluctant, but I do think we need that. But I think what we're talking about here is what I call like nonprofit housing, I guess I would say. Different groups who are working hard to produce and preserve deed-restricted housing. And create new converting market rate to affordable. These are the type of things we're going to have to do if we ever want to reach these options: social housing, public housing, co-ops, community land trusts. and everything else in between. But I definitely am fully supportive of these, and I think they're not in the mainstream sort of conversation, and we need to bring them there. And if people don't think we need them, then they need to come to Lynn and see why it's such a big deal. I'm obviously happy to advocate at the State House for all these solutions, and I'm not scared to file any new innovative ideas, whether it's something that someone mentioned to me not too long ago about a home rule petition to, if a landlord freezes rents, they have a tax break. Things of that nature. We need to be as creative as possible, and I'm not afraid to take those risks.
Thank you for your question. The next group that will be presented is Highlands Coalition.
Hi, my name is Macia. I live in Lynn, Massachusetts. I go to Thurgood Good Marshall Middle School in the 7th grade. My question is, cash assistance grants for a family of 3 with no income are currently $783 a month, about a third of the federal poverty level for 3, which is $2,152. Food stamps usually don't last until the end of the month. Do you support raising cash assistance grants up to the federal poverty level so low income families with older adults and people with disabilities are better able to meet their basic needs?
Absolutely, I'm fully supportive of this, and thank you so much for the question. That was amazing. This is up to just the federal poverty level. This isn't up to the state poverty level, which is much higher than this. So this is not a large ask whatsoever, and I know there have been efforts to push this type of issue. I'm on the board at my brother's table, and if you look around different food pantries throughout the month, I promise you, the end of the month, the lines are a lot longer than the beginning of the month. And this is exactly why, because people simply, that number does not meet up with an inflation after all these years. We're supposed to be nurturing these people, but we don't regularly update this to the true level of that correlates with the cost of food. Another point I want to mention in this too is farmers market, now that there's the HIP program, it tends to be a little bit more expensive, but people are trying to do the right thing and get healthy foods. And when they do so, they end up spending a little bit more money. And this is really a lot less bang for your buck in that regard. So there's just such a need for it. And I think it's a no-brainer, especially as we turn the conversation around food insecurity and think about ways to eat healthier and just food policy in general. So thanks so much for the question.
Yeah, 83 a month is not a lot for 3 feeding mouths for a month. That's not a lot at all. So yeah, I in favor of increase that, but we have to study more about that. So I'm also happy that the governor put $2 million for food security, which is it's last to this day. I know that when you go to City Hall, see a long line of people waiting to get food every day. That's because of they don't have enough cash, enough SNAP to buy food. And also, I haven't been involved in with food pantries for many years, and I'm still doing that. That's just a little help. But we don't want them to go through this at all. What we need them to go through is that they feel secure. They have enough cash to buy food for their family. That's what all of America about. You know, we're not in a third world country. Everyone deserves to be fed and to have nutrition, food. So I came from a third world country. I have seen it. I've been there. So we not deserve like that here. This is America. So yes, I support wholeheartedly to increase. I will review, if elected, I will review the policy over again with my colleagues at the State House. So possibly we can increase more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question. The last group that will be asking a question is Lynn Health Task.
Saved this one for last, I see. Good evening. Thank you. I'm a Lynn resident, a homeowner, and a voter in the city of Lynn. I'm also representing the Lynn Health Task Force. I've worked in the city of Lynn for 20 years with people who use drugs and other strategically undervalued human beings. In Massachusetts, the overdose rates have dropped among certain demographic groups. However, they continue to rise among the Black and Latinx communities, not just in Lynn, but nationally. We are also on the brink of seeing nitazenes, an opiate more potent than fentanyl, take over our drug supply, along with other harmful additives that will inevitably increase our rates of overdoses. The rates of fatal overdose in our city declined last year in part to harm reduction interventions such as naloxone or Narcan distribution, harm reduction programs, access to substance use treatment, and expanded recovery services within our city limits. However, in part due to our local housing crisis, unaffordable rents, lack of shelter, and consistently full substance use and mental health treatment beds, we are seeing increasing numbers of individuals sleeping outside, increased public substance use, increased public overdoses, which I have had to respond to on numerous occasions over the 20 years, in the street, behind dumpsters, on the sidewalk, and what is looking to be another overdose year in Lynn with our rates totaling in the hundreds. Lynn hosts a myriad of evidence-based interventions to substance use and substance use disorder, and I feel this city really exemplifies a place that seeks to provide wraparound care to its residents. However, there is one evidence-based intervention that is not utilized, despite studies showing its efficacy in reducing public drug use, drug-related litter, improperly discarded syringes, reducing unnecessary visits to the overtaxed emergency room, reducing local businesses and their employees experience the trauma of overdoses in their bathrooms, offering treatment and medical care, among other services. There is no one right answer to this evolving issue. Given the benefits of these interventions and the impact these issues continue to have on the city and the state of Massachusetts, what is your stance on implementing a safer consumption site?
Yes, it should be supervised because we don't know what kind of medication that other people use. So it's always a good idea to have someone check, who expertise check and what they take, supervise them, because some doctors just prescribe anything that the patient asks, because it's all about the pharmaceutical company. That's what they do. Then the more we buy from them, the more money they make. So we, as a concerned citizen, we have to care for our residents, make sure that they don't take anything that harm them at all, or takes that minimum that's possible, because medication can harm us more, the way I look at it, because I don't believe in taking medication will cure our disease that much. So we have to find ways to help them, not just take medication. Find ways for, talk to mental health therapists, train them in meditation, and other things that there's ways that they can help. So yes, I support the supervision at the site, so that make sure that our residents feel safe. Okay, once again, we don't want the doctor just prescribe anything that's out, because every time I go to the doctor, the same thing. It's just had a headache, they prescribe something. Just help the pharmaceutical company. That's what they do. So, yeah, that's how I feel. Thank you.
Both of my parents suffered from substance use disorder, and I lost my big brother to the opioid crisis. We talk about all the time. You ask any representative, you ask any senator, and they'll say, we need to destigmatize addiction. We need substance use. We need to not punish it. We need to treat it. And it's easy to say these things, but it's so much harder to put these things into policy. And this is the exact example. This is an example of this. This is putting destigmatization into policy. Having overdose prevention centers does not, all the data is there, it does not cause more trouble, it causes less trouble. It does not make people less likely to get services, it makes them more likely to get services. This stuff is been proven over and over again. This is really, in the year 2024, very frustrating to me that we're still having these conversations. If you've ever dealt with someone facing substance use, you know how hard it is, that moment when they finally want help And when you have these people that they can turn to, that one moment that they might want the help, they'll be there for them. And that's the biggest part of me is the services that are offered there, the building of trust with someone who's a neutral party, who's not there to judge them, and that they can go to when they have that hopefully moment of realization. So I'm fully supportive. I want to be a champion of this issue truly, given my background and my deep personal understanding of this issue. So yes, I am fully supportive, and I look forward to working with you, hopefully if I'm elected, and anyone else in this room. So thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you for all the groups and your amazing questions. Thank you to the candidates who took the time to answer those questions. We really appreciate it. And so we have one last question for you from New Lynn Coalition. Why should the people of this community vote for you?
Well, the community should vote for me because of the experience I have. 14 years as an elected official, I have done a lot for our community, and I understand how politics work. I understand how the money being allocated, and I understand where the money come from. Also, as work as the Department of Revenue for almost 30 years, I work with money all the time. I understand. So yeah, I'm not just working for anyone or any individual, any special interest group. I work for all of you. So I will listen to your voice. I will listen to your concern. I will work for you all and make sure that I will, before I even introduce a bill to the floor, I want to get your input first. I want to get your support. Yes, the experience makes a big difference as an elected official for 14 years as an elected official. So I'm not just working for someone, I'm working for all of you, just to let you know that I deserve to get elected because I think I'm the best candidate for the job, and I'm ready. I'm ready to use my experience at the State House, and as I have been doing for the City of Lynn, and so I know together we can make a difference, and we can the future, everyone can benefit the future in our district. And I strongly believe that by voting for me is voting for your future and your opportunity. And I ask for your support on September 3rd. And I thank you and have a good night.
Look, people are struggling right now, whether it's keeping up with the high cost of living, whether it's getting from point A to point B, whether it's accessing services. And we're losing a true champion in Rep. Peter Capano, who I want to thank for his many decades of service. So given the urgency of these issues, coupled with the fact that we're losing Pete, we need someone who's ready to serve on day one, and I'm that candidate. I'm that candidate because they say the best indicator of future success is past performance. And I have direct experience working in the State House where I would be going if elected to this position. I also, serving for Senator Brendan Creighton as his legislative director. I also have experience advocating at the local level for students, teachers, students, families, and teachers like my wife, Kelsey, on the school committee. And I also have deep community relationships and ties with various organizations. I'm on the board, My Brother's Table I mentioned earlier. I'm on the board of the YMCA. And I co-founded a nonprofit right here in Lynn. But I haven't just worked on these issues, I've lived them. As I mentioned throughout this, I was born to a teen mother here in Lynn, and my father was incarcerated shortly after I was born. And my mother kind of went in a downward spiral with substance use and mental health challenges, and we fell into homelessness. But I was only able to overcome these obstacles because of this community. So I've really dedicated my life to giving back to it. And I think that's why I've gained the support of so many different groups, labor groups and organizations, whether it's the Mass Teachers Association, whether it's Neighbor to Neighbor, Local 7, a number of unions. And I really think that validates the work that I'm already doing here in the community and at the state level. My wife, who's here tonight, Kelsey, is 9 months pregnant now. She's due in a couple weeks. And so we've been thinking a lot about the future. All the issues we talked about today and so much more. and we really want to make a better future for our family and all of your families here tonight. So please, if you have any questions, I pride myself on my accessibility. Reach out, and I humbly ask for your vote on September 3rd.
Thank you. To everyone who has wrote a personal question on that piece of paper, if you can turn it into Tish. Tish, if you can raise your hand, and we will forward them to the candidates, and hopefully they'll respond. This was a great evening. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Your time and efforts are greatly appreciated, and it's important in building a better community for our future. If you would like more information about New Lynn Coalition, please see Tish or Tanvir in the back of the room, and enjoy some snacks and water, and feel free to socialize. Everyone, have a great night.